And Detective Duncan, we've already talked about, but just to remind the jurors, the information contained in this PowerPoint was from Charles Vallow's phone. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And on this slide, can you please read this into the record?
Yes, I can. Hello, Chad. I hope you are doing well. This is Charles Vallow from Arizona. We really enjoyed having you stay with us back in November when you came to the Preparing a People conference. I appreciated you taking the time to talk to me about the book I've been working on. Well, more than 6 months later, I still haven't made much progress on it, but I feel an urgency to get it done. As the managing partner of Right Planning Group, I'm going to have the opportunity to speak at various conventions beginning in the fall, but everyone says I need to have a book available that summarized my life and shares the principles I follow. So I will cut to the chase. I'm willing to pay you well to help me get this book into shape as my ghostwriter. I really liked your autobiography and the tone you took in sharing experiences without preaching. Is there any way you could come here for a couple of days and help me get the book underway? I feel talking in person would be much more valuable than a phone call or video chat, mainly because I would like you to read through some of my journals and explain to me how the publishing industry works. It would help me know whether I truly have a book in me and whether you want to team up on it. I played minor league baseball and have plenty of stories that my audience could relate to, along with the knowledge I've gained running my own company. So I do feel the book would contain valuable information even beyond the convention circuit. I'm out of town until Sunday, but I would gladly fly you down here next week before the holiday and cover your expenses. You could stay in our guest room like before, or in a hotel if you prefer. I hate to take you away from your family, but I know this book is vital to my speaking success. I understand if you don't want to take part in the project, but I would definitely make it worth your time. With admiration, Charles.
And through your investigation, what did you learn in relation to this email or this message, if anything?
So this particular message was a document that, in looking at Charles' additional phone records, he had indicated to Lori, as well as to Lori's brother, Adam Cox, that he had found this on Lori's computer. This would have been the first letter to which he mentioned Chad or suspected Lori of having an affair with Chad.
And at some point, were you able to learn if this particular email was associated with a specific email address?
It was not.
And did you learn whether or not this was actually written by Charles?
All indications in Charles's phone and content that when he's sending this to Adam and to Lori is this was fictitious and this was not created by him.
And just to back up a little bit, as you're going through these extractions, were you aware of any other ongoing investigations that were related to what you were looking into?
Yes, in January of 2020, when going through these extractions, I was aware of multiple investigations. I was aware of the disappearance of JJ and Tylee. I was also aware of the attempted or the shooting on Tammy Daybell, as well as Tammy Daybell's death. In addition to that, there is another case in Gilbert, Arizona, with the attempted shooting at Brandy Boudreaux.
And as you were looking through this phone extraction as well as others, were you also paying attention or looking for anything in relation to those other investigations that you thought could be helpful?
Yes, while going through these records, this particular record and subsequent records, I was mainly focusing on the Charles Vallow investigation, but anything that I saw that could have been pertinent to the locating JJ and Tylee and the other investigations, I would pass that along to other investigators in Idaho.
And as we talk through this, just to make clear to the jury, do you know did Lori have a brother named Adam Cox?
Yes, she did.
Did he also have a brother named Alex Cox, or did she also have a brother named Alex Cox?
Yes, she did.
Was Adam Cox at any point a suspect in relation to this investigation?
He was not.
Was he someone that you learned had communications with Charles?
Yes.
Was Alex Cox a suspect?
Yes, he was.
Thank you. And if we look at the next slide, can you read these messages into the record?
Yeah, so these are messages that were found on Charles Vallow's phone extractions. The first message is from Charles to Lori, dated June 29th, 2019 at 5:51 a.m. Is he with whom you're having an affair? He did not stay with us in Arizona in November. Who are you lying to now? Trying to destroy another family? You're evil. Period. I may take JJ back to Houston unless you have a great explanation for all of this. I will not let him be a party to your apostasy. The next message from Charles to Lori, June 29, 2019 at 6:04 a.m. Just so you know, I have Tammy, Chad's wife, email address. I will send a copy of my email you sent to KK Walker. Tammy will know what you're up to. You better explain. Charles then writes, June 29, 2019 at 6:10 a.m. I now have Tammy Daybell's cell number. I'll text her a copy of the letter and an explanation of what you're up to. You have till noon your time to explain, or I'm sending via text and email to her. And finally, Charles to Lori on June 29th at 6:55 a.m. I'm sure you're up by now. You have until 10 a.m. your time to respond, or I send the emails and texts to Tammy.
And at the time these emails are being exchanged, Charles is still alive, obviously,
Yes, he is.
and Tammy Daybell is still alive.
Yes,
And you had recovered that previous email that we talked about.
correct.
And that email appears to have been written by someone holding themselves out to be Charles to Chad Daybell.
Correct.
Through your investigation, did you learn whether or not Charles actually made contact or attempted to make contact with Tammy?
I did, yes.
And what did you learn in relation to that?
So again, looking at Charles' phone, there is indication that Charles had addressed emails to Tammy Daybell and sent those emails to her.
Do you know, or did you learn whether or not Tammy ever looked at those or received them?
No indication that she looked at them or received them.
And looking to the next slide.
Once again, Charles to Lori, June 29th, 12:23 p.m. Just so you know, and Chad know, I am going to talk to Tammy in person if I have to. I've already emailed and texted her, your game is up. Charles sends another message to Lori the same day at 5:04 p.m. Please stop spending money on the credit cards. I appreciate it.
And this is a continuation, it appears, from the conversation we were just looking at in the previous slide.
Yes, it is.
And we talked about any indication that Charles did in fact email Tammy. Did you uncover anything in your investigation regarding whether or not he ever attempted to visit her in person?
I did not.
And so we don't know, no evidence that he did.
Correct.
And looking at this date of June 29th, this is just a few weeks before Charles is shot and killed. Is that correct?
Correct.
And turning to the next slide, when we talk about the email, is this the one you were referencing?
Yes, it is.
And could you read this into the record?
So the first email from Charles Vallow to Tammy Daybell, and it was sent to tdaybell@sugarsalem.com on June 29th, 2019 at 9:06 is the stamp that was on the email. Tammy, my name is Charles Vallow. I have some vital and disturbing information regarding your husband and my wife, Lori. This is your work email, so I'll wait to send you the evidence that is very disturbing. You may call or email me from the address where you can receive the information. I apologize to be the one sending this, but something has to be done. I feel it's best if I shed some light on this issue. Regards, Charles Vallow, 714-853-5005.
And it looks like there's another one, or this may be the subject line. Could you read that next one?
Correct. The email from Charles to Tammy Daybell, coming from Charles Wright Planning Group email to another email for Tammy is tammy.daybell@gmail.com, June 30th. So the following day, 2019 at 10:16 a.m. The subject line on this email was "Your husband and my wife," and then the body are having an affair. Her name is Lori Vallow. I've got definite proof or definitive proof. If you care to see it, contact me and I'll share it with you. It's devastating, I know, but the truth needs to be shown. Charles Vallow.
And again, to be clear, through your investigation, you were never able to determine, or you did not learn whether or not Tammy actually saw these emails.
Correct.
And then can you talk about what we're seeing on this slide here?
This is another email from Charles Vallow, a Gmail account to chad.daybell@gmail.com, sent 6/29/2019 at 9:32 a.m. The email reads, "Chad, I'm Lori's husband, but I gathered you already knew this. She sent an email yesterday, supposedly written by me, to KK Walker, inviting you to Arizona next week and to ghostwrite a book I'm supposedly working on. It's preposterous. I happened to run across it as she left her computer at our Houston home. I am not paying anybody for anything, and I am not writing a book. Either you or Lori need to tell me what's going on, or this will be exposed for all to see. Regards, Charles Vallow, 714-853-5005. And does your wife know you have several of Lori's dance videos? Explain how that is in any way appropriate. She sent them to you at your request in January, Charles."
And relating back to that first email, when we talk about the belief it wasn't drafted by Charles, did this play into why you believed that it was not drafted by him?
Yes, it did.
Is there anything else about this that drew your attention?
So this, obviously, Charles mentions a KK Walker, an email sent to KK Walker. So through this information, we were able to locate the KK Walker account of KK Walker 75 at yahoo.com.
And ultimately, were you able to link that KK Walker email to any particular person?
Yes,
And who was that?
Lori Vallow.
And if we look at this next slide, if you can tell us a little bit about what we're seeing and read that.
So also again on the actual Charles Vallow's device and the extraction from that device is a message from Charles to Lori on June 30th, 2019 at 8:42. "Lori, I know you don't care much. I know you don't much care how I feel, but just imagine this. How could my actions or breaking your heart result in what you've done? You accuse me of infidelity, but it's you who have been having an affair. It just keeps killing me. Maybe that's your goal. How can you live with yourself destroying our life, Mel and Brandon's, probably Mel and Brendan too. Now add Chad Daybell family and you've got a home run. The fact that you continue to go to the temple after all you've done shocks even me. There really is something wrong with you. I really don't want to do what I have to do, but you have to be exposed for what you really are. You won't even deny it or talk to me as to your reasons. That's what's amazing to me. You could allay some of what's about to happen, but I don't think you will. Lying has become second nature to you. You have been impressive in blaming me for all that's happened. You have destroyed me. I've never been lower in my life. It's you that has done it. Please tell me why, please. I will slow or minimize what's about to happen. It's you who has caused it. We have a son to raise, but that's all we have in common. I will work with you in his best interest and will be there Monday evening. You owe me an apology for all the false accusations you've made. You know I've been entirely faithful to you since the first day we met. I deserve an apology from you. Please respect that much.
So this message is sent around the same time the messages are being sent to Chad confronting him about the affair, correct?
Correct.
And this is also sent around the same time Charles reaches out to Tammy.
Correct.
Through your investigation, did you learn whether or not there were any divorce proceedings that had been going on between Charles and Lori?
I was not aware of any.
Do you know through your investigation, did you learn if at times they had separated?
There was indication that they were separating, living in different locations, yes.
And on this next slide, can you talk a little bit about what we're seeing here and then read these into the record?
Yes, once again, additional messages found on Charles Vallow's device. Charles to Lori, July 1st, 2019, 10:31. I'm going to Idaho first to meet with Tammy Daybell. Lori to Charles, July 1st, 2019, 10:32 a.m. She won't see you. She is my friend. She won't listen to you. Go ahead. You're ridiculous. Are you coming to JJ for the 4th or not? Charles to Lori, July 1st, 2019 at 10:37 a.m. Then you tell me why you used my name and a fictitious email to send a BS email about a book I am having him ghostwrite for me. It's fraud and a lie. There's no other reason for it other than to get him to Arizona or AZ, get him in AZ and have an excuse for his wife. Charles to Lori, July 1st, 2019, 10:38 a.m. You did this. I had nothing to do with it, and you know it. Also, he did not stay with us in November. I will find out.
Did you learn what that reference of he did not stay with us in November was in regards to?
That was in regards to the letter found on the Chad's device, and then also another, what is a KK Walker email where Chad was being requested to come to Houston. I believe those were the two.
And one of the emails referenced him being in Arizona the previous November,
Correct.
and that would have been November of 2018.
Correct.
And there's also a response there from Lori saying she's friends with Tammy.
Yes,
Did you also review data in relation to devices or accounts linked to Lori Vallow?
I did.
In your review of those, did you find any communications between Lori and Tammy?
I did not.
Any indication that they were friends in those devices, at least?
No,
Did you find communications between Lori and Chad?
I did.
And on this next slide, can you talk a little bit about what we're seeing here and then read it into the record?
So once again, in Charles Vallow's actual phone extraction, the day of his murder, and these text messages take place between 7:35 a.m. and 7:37 a.m. between Charles and Adam Cox, who was Lori's brother. Charles sent Adam a text, "Al is here." Adam responded, "At Lori's?" Adam responds, "Really? I wonder why he never called me back." Adam responds, "They are planning something." Charles responded, "Absolutely." Adam responded, "I was supposed to spend the night at his house last night. She probably blocked that." Charles responds, "What you do is up to you."
And up until this slide, or actually, excuse me, just the slide before this, we're talking the beginning of July when he and Lori are exchanging those messages. Is that correct?
So from June 29th was when that letter was discovered and the communication starts. So up until then, yeah, or from that day on, yes.
And you indicated this is the day that Charles is killed when these messages are exchanged.
Yes, it was.
And again, Adam Cox is one of Lori's brothers,
Yes,
and he was not a suspect, correct?
correct.
And when we look at the time that these are exchanged, it's early in the morning.
Yes,
Were there any additional communications on Charles' phone after this?
there were not.
Charles was shot and killed shortly after these messages were exchanged.
Correct.
And we've talked a little bit about that you reviewed. And actually, I apologize. I'll get this submitted to the court first.